Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here with Netta to talk about her amazing win on the Traitors Canada Season 2. Netta, how are you doing today? And me and Mel want to welcome you to the channel.
Thank you for having me. I feel great. It's so nice to finally be able to share it. It's starting to finally sink in now, so it feels good.
So I saw you posted on Twitter that you had a 500-page manual that you kind of put together the perfect way to be a trader. So how much did you follow that? And did you come into any sort of trouble that you didn't actually see coming?
Honestly, I'm definitely over exaggerating with 500. It was like 50. Not that crazy. Sorry, what was the second? I haven't slept. What was the second question?
The second question was, did you come into any trouble that you weren't anticipating?
No, if anything, I was like, why is this going so smooth? I thought something was happening that I just wasn't picking up on. So every day I'm like, am I just not seeing something? Is someone talking about me, but I'm just not feeling it? It went a lot smoother than I thought.
So, I mean, you've had a lot of prep work, of course, and I'm just assuming that you watch every other iteration, every other season. Would you say that there's any trader that you kind of emulated your game most about, or do you just kind of extract pieces from all of them?
I mean, a little bit from everyone, but honestly, I know he gets a lot of flack for his game, but it was Dan. Dan's a Virgo, I'm a Virgo. Even when I played for the first time on Big Brother, I pulled a lot from his game. And I knew Dan is smart. Like, yeah, he messed up a little bit on Traitors, but like, I think his strategy of like going in and not speaking too much, it really could work. There was just like pieces missing from it. So I think I tried to fine tune that for if I was going to do the quiet strategy, if it was the right type of cast, this is how I could do it. So yeah, thank you, Dan. And I give Dan a lot of credit too, because I think I got cast on Big Brother because of Dan too, because I read his book about how to get cast on reality TV. And I think that's the reason I got on Big Brother. So Dan, thank you.
Oh, that's actually so amazing that it's all because of Dan.
It's all because of Dan.
So you could basically say that you perfected his game, essentially.
I mean, I wouldn't take it that far because like Dan's a freaking legend, but I learned from the game for sure. It's obviously so much easier to take somebody's game and learn from their mistakes, see what they did wrong. And maybe he didn't even have the mistakes. Maybe we just weren't seeing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like you had a good game strategy going in. And I think where you guys differed is it seemed like he lacked the social capital. Like it seemed like you interacted and made bonds really quickly. Whereas with him being a little bit more reserved, again, just from watching it on television, it looked like he probably didn't have as easy of a time as making those relationships. Right?
Yeah, and I think Dan's strategy wouldn't necessarily work with his cast either, because people know Dan in that cast. If he had gone in and there was, again, like my cast, there was only 3 or so people who knew him, I think it could have worked, but he went in with all these other reality people, they know him, so it's a lot harder to be like, oh, I'm just Dan.
So did you have a plan on if you had to get with a cast that, knew your game well? Like we saw it play out where you weren't really well known for the game you played. They knew you played Big Brother, but they didn't know how well you played. Yeah. What was your strategy if it had to be a cast full of like super fans?
Yeah, I had a strategy for 4+ people know me, because I feel like at 3 I could draw the line, and I think it ended up being around 3 people who knew me. It was Kirkland, Kira, and Kevin didn't really know too much either, so I'm like, okay, perfect, I can do this. No, I had a lot of strategies for the people. I obviously would have been way louder. Like I can't be like, oh, I'm meek little Netta. They're like gonna be like, we've seen you before. So I had a different set of strategies. I had different set of clothes. Yeah.
So if you're going to compare Big Brother to the Traitors, what kind of things would you say are alike, and what would you say the biggest differences are?
Things that are alike is your social game is the most important thing. It's your relationships in there that are going to get you far in the game. You need to have those, or people aren't going to vote the way you want them to vote. They're not going to take you far in the game, whether you're faithful or a traitor. Things that are not similar is the pace of the game. I feel like Traitors is so hard because it moves so fast. You don't have time to process things. You don't have time to put plans in motion. Faithfuls don't do well because they don't have time to really like think about all the clues that they've got. So yeah.
So I know you played as a traitor, but do you think that you'd have been a more successful faithful than maybe the people that you played with this season? No.
No, faithfuls, it's so hard. It's so hard to be a faithful. So I give them all the credit in the world for like Trena, the fact that she got that far and she was never really considered too much for banishment, never considered for murder. Like that's epic.
So you mentioned earlier on in the season that, you know, you wanted to do your murdering face to face. Now seeing how the game plays out and all these relationships that you have, do you think you really could have done that?
No. I went in being like, I'm going to be such a villain. I'm going to kill everyone. And then I'm crying every day in there. So no, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be.
Were there any challenges that you faced in the game that you hadn't really expected? Because you were pretty well prepared for anything. So was there anything that when you got there, you were kind of like, whoa, this is, you know, way different than what I was thinking it was going to be?
No, because I had watched a lot of like podcasts and interviews from past contestants. So they had like Janelle had done a few that like really revealed a lot like about how the game is, how the pace of it is. Still, I guess I wasn't expecting the pace to be that quick. And then obviously I wasn't expecting to be up against a brother and sister duo. But I didn't know that till after. So
yeah, that was
so
nice.
With your fellow traitors, with Michael, John, and Kira, if you were to maybe build your perfect traitorous cast, would you have chosen them now that you have with the outcome, or would you maybe have had a couple other people that you might have wanted to work with instead?
I mean, I can't change it because I won. If I change it, then maybe I won't win.
Yeah.
But I was really wanting to have somebody from the helicopter in there with me because I was always scared I was going to come back to the helicopter. And I really wanted to have another reality TV person in there with me because, again, I was like, oh, no, Michael, John, and Kira, they're not reality TV people. So maybe if they start thinking meta, like people are going to be like, okay, the next one's going to be a reality person. But for fun, I would have loved to have Trena or like Gail in there with us.
It would have been so chaotic. I would have loved to see Trena as a traitor.
So fun. It's so fun.
I mean, Trena is still bigging up, you know, your win, even though she was deceived in the end. How was that moment for you to actually have to say, I'm sorry, we can't split this money. I am a traitor.
That was hard to watch.
Sucked.
Yeah.
I cried.
I like watching myself cry. I'm like, oh God, like, oh no, I felt so bad. And Trena I wish it wasn't Trena that I had to do it to, honestly. Like, or yeah, I've been saying this a few times today, but I'm like, I wish like I hated Trena because it would make it so much easier.
Yeah. I know the Traitors is such a crazy game because the concept alone is just unlike anything that we've seen. But even with the Traitors, like when you get to the end, if the traitor wins, it's still at the hands of like deceiving everybody. And it's not you were like, oh, I really want to deceive all these people and take their money. It's like, this is the role I was given. So it's so exciting, but at the same time, it's just devastating. And like, how did you deal with all of those conflicting emotions when...
It's so bittersweet. It's so bittersweet because you're like, you want to celebrate, but you're so torn up about the whole thing. I always like when I'm watching, I am rooting for the traitors, but it never feels satisfying when a traitor wins because faithfuls, you win together. They get to celebrate. Like when CT and Trishelle won, that was so epic. Like their celebration. When a traitor wins, it's always like kind of a downer.
Now, what if it were you and Kira at the end and you're in one of those prisoners' dilemmas? How do you think you'd resolve that? Or would you both have ended up leaving with nothing?
It really depends. Like if Kira, the whole Michael John situation hadn't happened, if I wasn't suspicious of her, I'm always on the team of like traitors get to the end together because you have the best odds if you all just stick it out and you don't go after each other. But I remember I was telling this to my sister because she was like helping me prepare. She's like a really big fan of the show. She's like, no, the traitors always turn on each other. Do not do it. So if really there was no clues, like me and Kira really were working together, I wasn't suspicious, then no, split the prize.
And then what if she had said nope and stolen it and taken it from you? Would have broken your heart?
I think one thing I know now for sure is my intuition is always correct. I think in life I don't actually listen to it that often, but now I know you gotta just listen to it. So I think if she was planning it, I think I would have picked up on it.
So, I mean, obviously, like you said, the way that the game played out is the best way it could have played out because you won. But was there ever a part in time when you were playing that you were thinking that you were going to maybe get a little bit closer to Michael John and use him as a shield and a weapon to get Kara out first and then banish him later?
Yeah, when she started going for Michael John, I really did consider it. I went back to my room and I started like writing down names of whatever. But then I'm like, Michael John had no social capital. So for me and him to all of a sudden start teaming up, or for me to even go to him and be like, maybe you start planting seeds about Kira. He was such a wild card. I just couldn't trust him in any way for him not to like even accidentally slip up about something. It just wasn't worth the risk, but I really did consider it. I'm like, maybe I can team up with Michael John, but it didn't make sense.
Yeah. Because bird's eye, it was a good idea, but like you said, like, he would need to be able to pull it off, which
Michael John's so wild. I feel like he would have just accidentally been like, oh yeah, Netta said this, like not even meaning to.
In the dining room.
Literally.
Is that why you guys just kind
walks
of
in and says it?
Yeah.
Is that why you guys just allowed him to do the murder in plain sight? Is because you're just like, okay, I don't want to fight you about this. I don't want to have any extra information. Like, you just take that one on, Michael John.
As soon as they said murder in plain sight, I'm like, it's not going to be me. I'm not doing it. You murder whoever you want. And he was excited to do it too. Like Michael John really loved the experience of being a traitor. So he enjoyed doing that. There was no like, oh, let's manipulate him into doing it. He just wanted to do it.
Yeah. When it came to the murders, who was your most difficult murder emotionally? Or I guess overall, like what was the most difficult murder for you?
I mean, Trana, obviously, but that's not a murder. I didn't murder her. Like Gail, I always want to keep around, but I did flip-flop a lot on her too, because there was a few points where I'm like, I don't think she trusts me as much as she should. And then it would switch again where I'm like, oh, she actually does have more trust in me. So I was flip-flopping a little bit, and she was seen as such a faithful as well. And she had a good relationship with Kira. So when we did eventually cut her over Nick, I'm like, it's not awful for my game. It still sucked because I really like her, but I guess also banishing, well, it's a banishment. It wasn't really a murder of like Lori and Lauren. That was really hard.
Yeah. Lori's was hard to watch. She knew it. Like you could see her face immediately. And I was like, oh my God. And so difficult too at the end. Did you know that they weren't going to allow the last players to reveal their status? Yeah. So that had to be even harder again.
Yeah, no, because they did that last year, right? Yeah, and they did it in New Zealand as well. So I was really hoping, like, I didn't know 100% it was going to be the case, but I'm like, really, this would be the best case scenario for this to happen.
Yeah. Do you think?
How would you have handled those?
Yeah, sorry. Question, Chantele.
Oh, I was going to ask him how would you have dealt with those last couple of banishments if they weren't revealing that they were faithfuls?
Because I had been pushing for Lori to be the one to go, I think it actually would have worked out in my advantage with her being like, oh, I'm a faithful. I'm like, oh my God, I fucked up. I'm so sorry. So I think I still, because of my relationships, and I was so close with Lauren and Trana, I think we still would have gotten to the end, even if they were revealing it.
How nervous were you when you actually decided to confront Kira at the round table and bring out your facts? Because we saw how it went for Dan. It didn't go so well. And so it was a similar strategy of being like, I'm watching you for a while and I've been scared to say something. How did it feel? Because she was sending daggers your way.
Yeah, the glare was a lot. I was obviously like nervous because it's such a good place in the game, I'm like, I'm really risking a lot here. But if I hadn't gone for her at that point, she would have taken me out at the next point. But I had really prepped the people that when we were going against her, the talking points, they were guiding me with what to say, how to act. So it wasn't like, oh, Netta came up with this amazing, brilliant strategy on her own. It felt like a team effort. So I think just talking through it with my car, and they were the ones like, Netta, you really need to speak up. This is what you need to say. I think it worked out.
Are you and Kara good today? Are you still talking?
I'm good with everyone. Yeah, no, we're good. I think the entire cast, I don't think there's drama. Unless I'm like unaware of some drama, but I don't think so. Because like last night there were people together and everyone was getting along.
Now we need a reunion. We want a reunion.
We do. I would love to see a reunion. That would be amazing.
Maybe we should have drama just so there's a reunion.
I tried to say it and everybody shut me down. I was like, let's pretend. Let's just get a reunion going.
Just start Kira, should we start a beef?
Yeah. Get her involved. Yeah, it's just been so fun watching you. Like when they announced the cast and they said Netta was coming back. I mean, Chantele and I are both huge Big Brother Canada fans. We're both big Netta fans. What was it like? What's the question I'm trying to express here? Like when you were playing this game versus Big Brother. I mean, I know that the timing and everything is off, but like what was going through your head when you got the call for Traitors?
I really didn't know if I was going to do it. I flip-flopped so hard. I think that was one of the reasons why I created this whole like strategy game plan stuff, because I hadn't watched Traitors before. I had obviously heard of Traitors. It's such a big show. So many like Big Brother people have been on it. It's my sister who's like a really, really big fan. At the time, we were in Iceland together and she's telling me about, I think it was Alex from Australia and who had become like the traitor. She's like telling me about this girl. She's like, you would love her. You really got to watch this season. I'm like, you know, I think me and reality TV, we're good for now. That night, I got an email from Heather being like, hey, would you maybe? I'm like, is this the universe? Like,
wow, yeah.
The universe. So
I got
then
goosebumps.
I did too.
yeah, it was crazy. It really, and I'm such a big believer of like signs and everything. So I started watching the show. I'm like, if I am going to agree to this, I need to know what I'm getting myself into. So I started really watching it. And I became such a big fan of the show that like, towards the end, I was still like flip-flopping a bit, but I'm like, I can't. It's so fun. I just want to do it.
I feel like it was made for you. Like even as a faithful Netta, honestly, I do think that you would have navigated. Like you were talking about your gut. I really think that like if you even had to go in as a faithful, we would have seen some top tier gameplay.
I'd like to think so, but being a faithful is so hard. I give them so much props. They all did so well, especially those girls at the end. Like how they got there is so epic. Like how did they get there as faithful? So you have everything against you.
So if Michael John, because I expected him to have been eliminated, banished many rounds beforehand, who would you guys have recruited if he had gone out earlier?
I really wanted to get Cedric, because Cedric was a reality TV person. He had so much suspicion on him that we reached a point in the game where we were like, okay, Cedric might skate by, but he's never going to get past the fire. So I was like, at some point he'll reveal that he's like a traitor. So that could work. But yeah, no, I think Cedric for me. I would have never done Nick. I've heard some people being like, oh, Kira would have. I don't think Kira wanted to do Nick either. I'm not positive about that, but because he was so seen as such a faithful, it doesn't make sense. You got to do someone that has suspicion on them already.
Yeah. So sure. I know you have a lot more interviews to go through today. So my one last thing to ask for you, we do some rapid fire questions, and just name somebody from your cast that you think would fit the bill.
Okay.
Right, so who's the most manipulative player?
Me.
Most annoying?
Oh, that's mean.
Annoying and like a teasing, kind of like frustrating way. Not
Cedric.
Loudest?
Cedric.
Funniest?
Tretta.
Which player would you like to invite to dinner?
Lori.
Most opinionated?
Ooh, Trena.
Which player would make the best spy?
Kevin.
Who would be the worst traitor ever?
Dylan? I don't know. No. I take that back. No, wait, hold on. Let me actually think about it. Who would make the worst traitor ever? No, Dylan would be funny, so he'd make it good. Cedric would be so chaotic, so it'd be fun to watch. Who else? Name some other people from the cast.
I don't know. I don't know if there would be anybody. Like that's the thing about this cast; they're all so good. They'd be entertaining at least.
It definitely would be entertaining.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anybody would be amazing, or the worst. And in hindsight, who would you say is the most trustworthy player?
Well, for me, Trana.
100%. Well, those are all the questions that I have for you. Netta, do you have anything that you want to share with everybody about your game, your win? Would you ever come back? Closing out words.
No, I'm just really, really grateful. It's been really nice. People have been very, very kind. So thank you guys. Thank you for interviewing me. Thank you to the fans tweeting and stuff. I think it's very sweet. And the support has been like great. I'm not used to it. After we became 5, honestly, I was like, oh, this sucks.
Well, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to talk to you again in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye now.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you both.